And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TMP-Pro's second annual virtual Infocom booth crawl. This afternoon, I am proud to present our friends from Harman, Mr. David Tewksbury and Mr. Glenn Kalinowski. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Hey, welcome everybody. Awesome that you guys could show up and have some fun with us. Today, we're going to talk about our brand new product. We've got a couple of them out now. And actually, there's 3 audio products out now. And there's another one coming next month too, as well. So the PRX1 is what we're going to talk about today, but we also have its next level down, the Eon 1 Mark II, which actually has battery powered speaker system similar to this. And then we also have the AKG Aura USB microphone, which is the next level down from this. So we've got those 3 products, and there's another portable PA powered speaker coming next month. So stay tuned for that. So PRX1, let's jump into it. If I can get it to click. There we go. So this is a form factor that is not new to us. We had the Eon 1 and the Eon 1 Pro. And with this kind of form factor, there were some pain points that we really wanted to focus on. When you have this kind of form factor, you tend to sacrifice acoustics to have this, this small footprint, limited IO because you're limited to the back of the subwoofer as to how much you can get in there. We fixed that. It can be difficult to use as well, and we've actually addressed that. And then, weak Bluetooth performance is another area that we've focused on. And then app control. And then we just wanted to make it look good. So let's get into how we solved it. So what we've done is we've taken it and designed it to where we've got superior performance. We drop in a 2000 watt Class D amplifier. We have a large 12-inch subwoofer in there that gets down to 130 hertz. Yes, we can hit 130 dB with this. Line array, basically. It actually kind of works similar to a CBT 70. So it's really cool, and we'll get into that. We were able to actually put in working with our Soundcraft folks, which would have been me because I actually helped on this, on the Soundcraft side of it and the drive rack side of it, of being able to put in a full 7-channel digital mixer. You got 4 XLRs, you have phantom power, you have high Z and Bluetooth audio. We put in a full suite of effects. So you actually have a pseudo DBX drive rack built in, as well as Lexicon effects engine built into this. And something that none of our competitors are doing, we actually are using Bluetooth 5.0. So now we've got higher performance, better connectivity, and longer range. And it really, really works well. We put it to the test. And then we give it an upscale look. So it really actually looks nice. Not only does it sound good, but it looks good too. So a little bit about the mechanics. This is the AIM technology, array enumeration mechanics. It's very similar to the CBT, where you're getting a lot of your higher energy at the top of the array, throwing farther, and then your energy is a little bit softer down below. I actually have been using this with my Duo, and people are sitting. I've got 2 4-top tables in one Italian restaurant we play on a patio. The 2 4-top tables sitting on either side of it, like they can reach out and touch the array, and they're able to have a full conversation without any issues. And they're enjoying it. Now, of course, they get a little bit more low end because they're sitting right on the sub, but yeah, they're not complaining that it's too loud or that it's ear piercing. So it's really got a nice, with the transducers in it, it just really sounds wonderful at all ranges. So that's I'm gonna kind of flip through a little bit. So here's your low frequency sub that, like I said, goes down to 35 hertz. Just wanted to show you some of the pictures so you can get a closer look. So this is the 7-channel mixer. This is what it looks like. Now we're talking about being able to use this thing if you don't even use the app with it. So you can actually go up and do everything you need to right on the back of the unit itself. And within minutes, you could be right out of the back seat or trunk of your car, set the thing up, plug it in, and you're already starting to connect stuff and actually make sound. So it's really a nice, especially with some of these venues where restaurants, bars that I play in, you don't have much, they don't give you that much time to set up, you know, an hour maybe, right? So you've got to really get in there and get set up and start performing. So there's, we'll get into this a little bit. There's the triple tier DSP. So do you have to know what you're doing? No, you don't. You can be a beginner and use this. You can also take some of the beginner settings. So when you go in there, there's custom settings where you can set up, you know, male vocal, female vocal. You can set up DJ EQ for your output. So there's, you know, little modules you can select as your choices. So you don't have to know what you're doing. And we drop those presets in so you can just select them. And then you can also, if you're an intermediate where you kind of want a good starting point, I want that vocal EQ, but maybe I want to tweak it a little bit. As soon as you go in and tweak it, now you can actually save that as a custom preset for yourself. If you don't want to do anything, you know what the heck you're doing, and you can actually just go in and just use it as an expert, as an advanced controller. So that makes it really nice to having those 3 different levels of customizing and just, you know, using it at whatever experience level you are. And there's also a thing called dual mixer function. If you press and hold the back button for a couple of seconds, it will actually put it into mixer mode. So if you kind of look a little bit, you'll see that it says channel 1 through 7 right here, but you'll also see it says gain, bass, mid, high, reverb, and so on, right? Delay and ducking. So when you are in a channel mode, like you push the encoder on channel 1, you're in channel 1's basically channel strip. So that those encoders become your channel strip. So what you want to do is, if you want to just be able to use these encoders as channel 1 through 7 as your faders, you just push the back button for a couple of seconds and it'll go into mix mode. And then you can actually really quick go through, and once you have everything, you know, all your channel strips set up pretty good, then you can put it into that mix mode and go in and set your levels really quick and get a good mix. So it makes it really nice function that way. This is without even using the app, right? So, your mic pre's are 56 dB low noise mixing desk. So you'll be very pleasantly surprised at how these mic pre's are very quiet. You've got 2 channels of true 48 volt phantom power. So that makes it really nice if you have to use a condenser. Some people do. Some people say, I have to use a condenser. We give you a full LCD screen. A lot of our competitors are not doing that. We've already gone through a little bit of this, the dual mixer mode. There's your triple tier. So like I said, you get a drive rack built in. You also have a through patch. So if you wanted to put a floor monitor on that through, or if you wanted to do a stereo kind of setup, you can go connect everything to your first 1 through 7 mixer, and then you could through to another PRX1 that way and be able to use it as a left and right fill. And you have total control on that through output. You even have delay built in, so you can even delay speaker settings, which makes it nice. And yes, I'm one of those designed by mix engineers from Soundcraft. That one of them, they asked me. I dealt a lot with the gating and compression and the drive rack side of it. So I worked with our Soundcraft team on that too. You get 4-band parametric. You get gate and compression on every channel, which is really nice. So this is a full-blown digital mixer. It really is, and it really is pretty dang cool. So real quick, I'm going to start getting into Bluetooth 5.0. This is what the app looks like currently. And there's going to be a lot of firmware updates coming because we're making tweaks to it all the time. So it's the JBL Pro Connect. You're going to be able to use up to 10 devices on this via Bluetooth 5.0. right? So you can, sky's almost the limit. I don't know anybody that's going to use 10 of these at once. But you're going to be able to do that. And I think somewhere around Q2 next year, the Eon One Compact will be brought into this platform too. So we one app for all the new powered PA products, which will be nice. So that kind of is a little hint about what's coming next month. So, and that one will be too available on the JBL Pro Connect. So it's really cool. It's easy presets. You go and you play in wine bar 1. You can get it all set up and you can save it as that bar within there and recall it the next time you go back and perform. So you're able to save the venues as well. That makes it nice having that digital mixer. Nobody else is doing that. They're maybe giving you 1, 2, or 3 channels worth of analog audio in the back of the unit. Nobody's doing this. So there's your JBL Pro Connect app. It's real simple, easy to use. I have a video that I did for the launch day where I actually set it up while I was talking and then actually connected to the app. So if you ever want to, Eugene, I can send that to you so you have that link. It's really cool. It's fun.
That would be great, David. Thank you.
Yeah. I wanted to get down here a little bit. So this is where I wanted to get. So best performance coverage. This is where we are in the industry. Best acoustic design, 130 dB, effects for real applications, professional mixing, or be a beginner mixer and learn how to do it. Copy and paste, right? Figure out how we set those EQs and then copy them and make them right. App control, expandability with that through port, makes it nice. Some of our targets, live sound, corporate presentations, house of worship. Aha. This is also installable. So here is the install kit that you can get. So if you have a small house of worship, you can grab a pair of these. And if you notice, it's very similar to the CBT wall mount. So basically what you're doing is you're connecting to the sub and you're connecting to the array, putting the array on the wall. And then you'll connect it with just a Speedcon speaker cable in between the two. And then because it's got drive rack in it, you can actually delay the sub or delay the array, whichever way, depending on where the subs are in relation to the array. So it makes it really nice. It's easy to install. You get up to 15 degrees in angle. Makes it really simple. So here's how we're stacking up right now with the Eon series versus the PRX series. That's the Eon One and the Eon One Pro that went end of life. So you can see we're right there with the Eon One Pro in that price range, which you were only getting an 8-inch, not a 12-inch sub because the battery was inside the subwoofer. 118 compared to 130 dB, 7-channel analog mixer compared to a 7-channel digital mixer. So you can see we even beat ourselves. And the Eon One Mark II is even better. The battery is no longer in the sub, it's actually in the array. So now you can swap it out. And, you know, as batteries die, it's easy to just take that battery out and order another battery. And we also have a charge kit too, that'll charge 2 batteries while you're using one. This is how we compare to EV, Turbo Sound, and Bose. You can see that, you know, we are winning in most of the categories there as far as that goes. And that's about it.
David.
How'd I do?
Well done, young man. Well done.
Sir, well done.
Well done, gentlemen. Just want to thank you both and everybody at Harman for the support and the continued partnership. This was really great, and we do appreciate it, gentlemen, very much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us. And now Vincent is coming in, and he's going to give us a rim shot so that Paul can get started on his jokes. See, we're going to have so much fun today. You guys are in for it.
Tukes, we're a duo now, buddy. We're a duo.
Exactly. Bring it on. We got a band.
You're my oats to my hall, baby. Look out. Here we go. Excellent.
I love it.
Well,
Vincent, have an awesome time, dude.
This is great. Hey, everybody. Next up on deck, we have our friends from DPA, Gabriel and Mr. Paul Andrews. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Very well, very well. So we're going to start out by saying hello and getting to a little PowerPoint. Hopefully you can see all that.
We are good, gentlemen. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right. Now let's get rid of that. So we're here today to talk about one of our favorite new microphones. Well, kind of new, the 2028. And, you know, it's not a secret that DPA sort of, our main goal is to be non-influent on the source as best we can. That's what keeps us up at night. As you can see in this picture with Gwen working at the factory without her makeup, and then on the right you can see her performing live. So, you know, that's how that's how involved our artists get. They actually work at the factory. No, I'm only kidding. But it's a really cool picture. But we are, you know, the output of any microphone is the sum of the input of all of its angles. So the off-axis of a microphone is sort of one of the most important aspects of reproducing sound, because you're on stage with 20, 30 mics, all that sound coming off of reflective surfaces of other instruments are coming into the side of the microphone. This is what really keeps us up at night, to make sure the microphones are accurate all around with different attenuations regarding directional microphones. And with that said, you know, we wanted to show Paul and actually I wanted to introduce Paul Andrews, which I didn't do because he is my favorite person at DPA, and we are brothers in arms.
Yes, we are, Gabe.
But
Yes,
I wanted to introduce Paul to let you know that we're both on this together. So he's going to probably start talking over me like he always does, and I welcome that. So we're talking about the de facto first here, right? So we're talking about 2028, but the de facto is sort of what we're sort of known for as the handheld microphones go. So why, Paul, why create another handheld microphone?
exactly, Gabe. So the de facto being truly that what we named it. It is the de facto in the sense that it doesn't really have competition amongst other manufacturers. It's in a league, it's in a class all of its own. We produce the 2028, what I like to refer to as the little brother to the de facto, to be in direct competition with other manufacturers. So the price points are going to be very, very similar across the board. But where we ended up comparing the 2028 is to ourselves in the de facto. So the specs are, and the overall sound characteristic of the microphone is going to be as close as you can get to the de facto in a different product. This slide that you have up right here is a great little comparison between the two. Walk us through that, Gabe.
Yeah, it's all about money and a damn thing funny, right? So this is sort of what it's all about. You know, why do we make the 2028? As Paul said, the de facto is sort of the de facto. What's different about the two? So that's the first question. Why are we charging less for the 2028, and where does it sit in the market? If we look at each of these points, the de facto is a modular design. So that means that sort of we could take the capsule off and put a supercardioid, a wide cardioid, the 4018 V or VL, which is what it's made for, but we could swap capsules out. In the 2028, it's non-modular, so you buy it either wired or wireless. Number two, the PVD coating is a molecular bond on the finish, on the de facto, so drop it, scratch it, it's still going to look very, very good. The 2028 is a sturdy painted surface, sort of more on par with, I guess you could say, the Neumann KMS and the Shure PSM. Is it the PS9? KSM9? KSM9?
KSM9,
so more, yeah, more on that level of the finish. In my estimation, a little nicer. And number three, the highly resistant grill, and the 2028 slightly less resistant grill. Reconfigurable for third-party wireless systems. We talked about that. 2028 must be purchased either for Shure or Sennheiser or whatever wireless system you're using, but not transfigurable from wired to wireless. And as Paul said, no equal in market. Targeted to the KSM9, KMS 105 market is the 2028. And besides that, maybe the other difference that isn't listed on here is about 3 or 4 dB of dynamic range. That's about it, right? So I'll go to the next slide, Paul. Feel free to jump in on that. And let's see what we got here.
There you go.
All right. and we'll take it to here actually.
So Gabe, this is really interesting. The linearity aspect of the 2028, I absolutely love that in that it's doing some really nice things for you there. Obviously showing us that it's basically flat all the way from about 100 hertz all the way up into basically almost into 20K there, 18.
Yeah.
You'll see a nice slight little bump and rise starting in around 8K or so, and which gives you a little bit of lift, helps out with the intelligibility aspect of it. And then that purposeful drop off on the low end, just below 100, which is really nice. So it's helping that potential proximity effect, especially when people want to pull that microphone closer to the source or to their mouth. So it's a very, very well designed frequency response spectrum there.
So that handle in the 2028 has a permanent third order 80 hertz cut.
Yes.
So
yeah.
you don't have to really go on the board. You mix a concert or a show. The first thing I used to do was put that high pass filter on everything but the kick and maybe the left hand of the piano and the bass guitar, and then sort of start out at a good place, right? And then tweak as desired. With this, it's going to sit right in the mix, focused. It's going to have that in there already. And obviously it's flat 20. This is the working area of the microphone. And as my buddy Paul says a lot, it's like free Q. We'll see in a second when we look at other charts here. There we go. There's the permanent roll off in the handle. And we're looking at its frequency response regarding and its polar pattern pickup. And we could quickly see that it's highly rejective at sort of that 135 degree off axis area, which is really great for nearby sound that you don't want to come into each microphone. But because of that linearity, if it does come in, it will sound like what it is, but just at a lower volume. And we could see, for instance, the 16 kilohertz, as we go off axis a bit, we can see that attenuating a bit. So you could use that to your advantage because of that extreme linearity as well. So if you're too bright, you just sort of, pitch the mic a little bit like a lot of performers will do, and you get a subtle characteristic change without touching the EQ knob. And that's sort of what we want you to do. Right, Paul?
Let's take a look at some of the physical characteristics of the two mics, just so we can kind of
okay. Yeah. We'll end up with this slide, Paul, if you want, and we'll take it from here. So
go for it.
This basically just shows the 2028 dynamic range. It's self noise, where its 1% harmonic distortion kicks in, which is pretty darn high, 139 dB, and then we have another working 21 dB before the 10% THD clip at 160 decibels, which is about 30 dB higher than an airplane engine in the same room with you, probably. But it's a very, very well rounded microphone in all aspects of SPL, of transient quality, of linearity. So, and Paul, we'll now go off like you said, and we will end with this slide and start chatting a little bit. And if anyone has questions, feel free to just chime right on in. So we should be able to see both of us now.
Awesome. So Gabe, check this out. So here's the de facto, right? And here's the 2028. A lot of people will kind of question, the different form factors there. The 2028 being the smaller of the two really has a nice feel to it. And it's a lot more appropriate to folks with smaller hands. It's got such a good balance. That broken out picture that you showed, the last slide there, I just wanted to show this here. You can see how it comes apart very easily. It's a 3-part filtration system. So you've got this inner mesh grill right here, which helps with the plosives, as well as a pop filter on the inside of this here. And then you've got your outer birdcage grill right here.
Yes.
As you mentioned, the capsule is not modular, so it's fixed, but it is completely decoupled. So it really helps with the handling noise if you happen to be clapping or doing anything like that. So it doesn't want to transfer that vibrational sound up into the capsule itself.
Which means you probably could use it in the studio too, because you're holding it, but you're not transmitting hand noise.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it is absolutely that good. We've had several of these microphones being deployed in the studio, especially the live performance type of thing throughout, you know, the last 18 months or whatever with the pandemic and everything. These have really found their home in the studio as well as on the stage.
And I can add to that in the home studio where you're trying to sort of get a flat environment and do your tracks, then maybe take them to a bigger place to get mastered or remixed. Having that microphone, you're getting studio grade quality, but you're getting a lot of rejection. So if the kid next door with a lawnmower all of a sudden comes in the middle of the best take of your life, you might be okay if you got it aimed the right way. So it's really great for that home enthusiast as well as professional, both live and studio.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, one of the last things I want to bring up too in the form factor regard is oftentimes when you have a performance microphone or one in this form factor that you're used to singing into on stage, there's a comfort level when you can take that exact same form factor into the studio or into the recording environment. So you're not standing in front of something that's big and foreign to you. You're like, oh, I know this microphone. I know the character. So just to further your point, Gabe, at home, in the studio, and on stage.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know how to work the proximity of it. You're used to it. You're used to working it in front of a live audience. I did 2 projects at Germano in New York, and the exact thing happened with the de facto. The 2028 wasn't out yet, and some pretty big recordings that happened there. They wanted that live thing, so they grabbed the de facto and basically had live monitors in the studio because of the comfort level.
Right.
And they wanted some bleed, and they wanted some of this and that, and it provided a perfect natural off-access capture, and everything was beautiful. If there is, one thing that is really comfortable about the 2028 to me, like Paul said it already, but the fact that you can't hold it and it has like a confident sort of, I mean, this guy here is awesome, the de facto, but when I hold it and sing it, it's like, it's great, but this guy here just has like a Sammy Hagar feel to it. I don't know, it's like really just want to like rock and roll. It really fits in the hand perfectly. And another cool thing is if you're one of these people that do this, or do this, or do this, or do this, our capsules are just a bit more facing forward, so we're still getting some air in there, which is needed for the directionality of the pressure gradient microphone. So that helps a lot when you're compromising your frequency response and your singer does this all of a sudden. At least it's not going to squeal like an Omni mic.
Gabe, check this out. So if I were to act like I'm threading this back down to that position where it's locked in,
perfect. Notice
how not only the top of the capsule, but also the vents on the side of the capsule are in front of this ring right here.
Yeah.
That does a lot of really good things in itself for the simple fact of what you're talking about when people want to grab the microphone up in this area or even like this, right? Yeah. Because you're not interfering with those side vents, which, like you said, will cause all those crazy Omni effects.
And knowing DPA and being here for the time that we have, we know that was intentional. Just to have that a hair above where that band was to keep things in the open, in the free field. Fantastic. Why? So how much cheaper is this microphone? I'm sure Tom knows, but I don't know if that's relevant for this meeting, but those differences that we showed, one being paint job, one being non-modular, one being the less dynamic range, you could sort of throw a figure of like $100 at each of those 3 things and sort of get to where the price point of this microphone is. Because it's the same capture, the same quality, the same transient quality, a little less dynamic range. That's about it. That's about it. And it's sort of a little simpler for the live audience in some ways too, because it doesn't have all of that over-the-top beautiful engineering that the de facto has. It's like, I need a microphone for live or studio or whatever. You go, here it is. So it fits into that 2000 line of DPA as well, which is our high quality, a bit more affordable DPA.
Right, right. The and just to kind of bring that home a little bit further, Gabe, the modularity aspect of the de facto itself, you had mentioned two different capsules we like to pair to it. One being the 4018V and one being the 4018VL. The 2028 is modeled after the 4018VL, and what that ultimately means to the end user is that flat frequency response that we looked at in that chart.
Sugar
So
free.
it's not going to have that higher end boost that some vocalists would need. So this is truly a very, very flat microphone, as we saw.
And what does that gain you when you're live and you're next to the drummer and he smacks a cymbal? You know, if you got the V capsule has its place, and maybe that is in a church with a track playing, with a volunteer mixer, sits in the mix, got a little bit of sugar on it, sounds great. But if you're dealing with a live audience, live band, you want flat, because if you go near that cymbal and it crashes, you don't want that hyped. You're going to end up cutting what's baked into the capsule, which is nearly impossible, and you suck out all the intelligibility. So going flat with DPA is sort of the truest image, and the 2028, as Paul's point was, is that it's modeled after that capsule, the VL. Voice linear is what it stands for.
Well, Gabriel and Paul, thank you for your time and always your support. Really do appreciate it. Benchmark products, truly, you guys. So thank you so much for your time. It is truly appreciated.
Hey,
Thank you, Eugene. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
music
guys.
people.
Have a great day, guys. Thanks so much.
Take
Yeah.
care. Peace.
And
Until next
next
time.
up, my friends, we have John from ClearCom. John, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for spending some time with us today. We really do appreciate it.
You bet. My pleasure. All righty then. You'll see my screen?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to talk about a few new products from ClearCom, targeted primarily at the live market. And we're going to talk about our Arcadia Central Station, our new FreeSpeak Edge bass, our station IC, virtual intercom panel, and we have a new headset. All right, so starting with the Edge base station. So we've developed a brand new, from the ground up, wireless base station. This base station supports all of our existing wireless formats. So this Edge base station will support 1.9 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and 5 gigahertz transceivers. It supports the existing E1, 1.9, and 2.4 gigahertz transceivers, and as well as our IP-based 1.9 DEC transceivers and the brand new Edge 5 gigahertz system. In addition to that, it has Dante for interconnection. It'll support 8 Dante channels, and it also has 8 4-wires and 4 2-wire channels. So it integrates a lot of different interfaces into a 1RU rack space. We also are introducing the Arcadia base station, and the Arcadia and the Edge are closely related. So I'll talk mostly about the Arcadia. The Arcadia has basically a higher port count. So again, it supports all of the existing wireless standards. The Arcadia gives you 64 channels of Dante, in addition to the 8 4-wires and the 4 2-wire connections. We have these slick new touch screen displays on the front of the unit, and which gives you 4 channels of intercom right on the unit itself. So just to walk you around this a little bit, we can interconnect 4 2-wire channels to our existing Encore system, up to 64 channels of Dante. Any Clearcom belt pack will connect to this base station. Standard 4 wires, and soon in 2022 we're going to be adding HelixNet to this base station as well. So how many can you connect? You can connect 10 E1 transceivers directly to this device using our existing E1 splitters. You can connect up to 16 IP transceivers, and these are either 1.9 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz IP transceivers. 32 belt packs, again, either 1.9, 2.4, or 5 gigahertz belt packs, 64 channels of Dante, 8 4-wires, and 4 2-wires. So you have here a wireless base station on steroids, basically. It'll give you a lot of, it gives you a lot of future proofing in this one RU rack space. So that's the front panel. Oh, this is the front panel. So what do we have on the front panel? You have a headset. You have a headset and a mic jack. So basically, the base station can be used as an intercom panel. There's a USB for charging your phone or for updating the firmware. A few push buttons, rotary encoders, which are used for basically for volume controls. The two touchscreen displays, which gives you 4 channels of intercom right on the front panel. There's a loudspeaker as well. Here's the rear of the device. So 2 different possible power supplies, a normal IEC cord, and there's also an external brick type power supply. We also support GPIs and GPOs on those 9-pin D connectors. You got your 4 2-wire ports, 8 4-wire ports. One of the features that we offer is DECT sync. And the reason that's important is if there's an existing DECT, you can synchronize multiple DECT systems using that, and they'll stay out of each other's way. So any other system with DECT sync, you simply connect either our sync out or their sync out to the sync in, and the DECT radio signals will align so that they don't use extra DECT time slots. In addition, there are 2 copper ports and 2 fiber ports on this, and let's see if I can move this. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, 2 copper and 2 fiber for the E1, and then 2 copper and 2 fiber for the LAN connections. LAN 1 is typically used for typically for Dante, and LAN 2 is typically used for the AES67 interconnections. Okay. I guess there's no questions at this point, huh? We're saving those to the end?
No, haven't seen any questions in the chat yet, my friend. Nope, we are good.
Okay, all right, very good. Another new product that we just introduced is Station IC. And if you're already familiar with our Agent IC product, this looks very similar to it, except this runs on your either your Mac or your Windows desktop. So basically, this gives you an intercom panel. This is what it looks like. So this gives you an intercom panel right on your desktop, and it works just like any other intercom panel. And you interface this either to our LQ device or to an Eclipse frame. So let me just go back. We'll go back here. You get up to 23 independent talk and listen keys. You have level controls on each of these keys. And so basically anywhere where you have an internet connection, you now have an intercom panel. And there's a favorite key function that allows you to just make a very small display on your desktop with just your favorite keys. And this works exactly like any other intercom panel with up to 23 keys. All right, last, we're offering a new headset, the CC28 headset. And this is a new lightweight, low-cost headset from Clearcom. Very high quality audio. It's extremely lightweight at 3.1 ounces. And it has the usual Clearcom boom rotation. So if you rotate that boom up over your head, it turns off the mic. It's an automatic mute. This is us. That's me. This is James Schaller, who's the local Clearcom sales manager, who I'm sure a lot of you already know. And that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Take a look at the chat, John, see what we got going on.
All right.
Don't be bashful, folks. John, question was, is the Arcadia shipping now?
Yes, it is.
It is. Great. See if we get any more questions. Well, John, I really want to thank you for spending some time with us today. Legendary products from you guys, and we appreciate you and your support, John. Thanks so much.
You got it. Thank you.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right. And rounding out our day here, folks, will be our partners and our friends at Legrand. Paul, Bob, Steve, the floor is yours, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Legrand AV, we want to introduce you guys to the Vadio IntelliShot camera. So this is a motion-based auto framing, auto tracking camera, and Paul Unger is at our manufacturing and global headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. All the Vadio products are US manufactured.
Yeah,
And,
about 80 feet that way.
Yeah. Now it takes, FedEx 2 weeks to get it from one room to the other, but that's okay. So Paul, can you tell us a little bit about what the camera is, what it's doing, and how it makes you look so lovely?
Well, that's the real magic of the camera. It's making me look lovely. So this is our newest camera. It uses AI to sense motion. So what it does is a frame by frame comparison, determines where the motion is and frames it up. What makes it different is rather than just being on or off function for the camera. There are slider bars, and you can tailor it to large rooms, small rooms, how much framing you want around, and how quickly it reacts. And we're continually, evolving the settings that are available, but it gives you a nice custom experience. I will do just a quick zip through the PowerPoint here, just so you've got it. And again, you need to pin me to make that. I might be able to even pin myself. All right. So that looks okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And that, of course, messed it up on mine. So key features, 1080p camera. It has a 30x optical zoom, and that is something that you would set when you first install the camera and essentially set your stage as to your area of tracking. So what that lets you do is put it in a much larger area. So you could easily get 60, 70, 80 feet away. This is 35 from where the camera is to me right now, although you can't see me, but you see me when I come back. And it's about a 35-foot wide range in here. And of course, USB 3, HDMI, the IP streams, those are all the same output from the camera, and has built-in microphones, which is good in the smaller conference rooms. The large venues, like a 60, 70 foot away, you're probably going to have your own audio system anyway. And that's why we've got the line in and line out available. PoE plus powered. And it has a very unique look to it. And it's, lecture capture for the large spaces and video conference for the smaller, smaller spaces, pretty typical. Those are what we're targeting. But why do we use AI? AI is getting better, but still easily fooled. How many of those are bagels and how many of those are dogs? I actually counted them out. There's an even number of each. But an AI would have a difficult time doing that. And the same thing goes for dogs or seals.
Mm.
You can tell at a glance, but there's not quite enough data there for AI to make that a really good observation every time. And although this next animation can be a little creepy, it does demonstrate, yes, flip-flops can be recognized as a face. The reason I'm bringing that up is we've seen it be fooled by wood grain, 2 pockets in a shirt button. So what we did was we concentrated more on the motion aspect of it, and even tried to augment it with the audio, but still that you're going to get bounce off of the ceiling, the walls, and the acoustics of a room change when you get more people in it. But motion is motion. And because this is a 4K camera image with a 1080p output, it can see you breathe. You have a really hard time hiding from this camera. It's going to see motion. And you can tune that, of course, so you can make it so only large motion gets sensed. But by default, that's what it is. And you can see here, this is one of the product managers, and that's the 1080p slice out of the 4K source. And there's actually, Darren is at the head of the table there. He's the head of audio. And you can see that there's heat maps that it generates, and where it determines that slice to come out and send that out of the video outputs and the streaming outputs. But you can see there with the white, the red blobs are heat map, but the white is the motion sensing. You can see where he moved, and it is thinking about where did he move to, where is he going to move, and has he moved back, and do I need to go find him and include him in the scene? And it's doing that all the time, and it's doing it in line. There's only one camera image on, camera sensor for you to do that. So there's not a motion sensing camera and a video camera. It is in line, and it's analyzing every single frame that goes by. But we do offer, customizations here. The bottom ones are the interesting ones, but it's essentially how sensitive do you want it to be? How quickly do you want it to react to people in the room? And how often do you really want it to update? There is options in here, of course, for masking, because I know in at least one of our rooms, we have windows with trees behind them. And when there's a little bit of movement, the camera wants to look at the trees just as much as the people in the room. So you can mask it out. It's also really good for getting just the bottom of the table, so the legs aren't triggering the motion sensing. So there's that 4K down to 1080p. So when somebody comes in and sits down, it's going to say, hey, I'm sensing motion, and they've been there long enough, I need to include them in the shot. And it's going to digitally zoom out to capture all the motion. If somebody walks through and isn't in there long enough, it just ignores them. And all of those are settable, of course. There's that unique form factor. What it does give you a nice opportunity for is to put it behind displays. And you can put it either above or below, depending on if you got a large display that's up further in the air. You can put it upside down underneath, and in the web UI, there's a checkbox, and it will do, image flip for you. You can see right there. And of course, there's mounting options for Fusion and the other ones. Banana is not to scale unless it's a really small banana. The camera is pretty good size, but it comes with all the stuff you need: PoE Plus, inserter, cables, and of course the remote and the mounting hardware that you need to put it on a wall or on the mount for the TV, or actually there's a ceiling mount as well available. And that's actually what I'm using here. And then there's the cable cover that goes on it. And I think that's enough dealt by PowerPoint. And let's get you back to live video. So what it's doing right now is it is saying, hey, you've moved out and there's your blob, and it needs to zero in on it. And I'm going to turn on. This used to have a picture of Angelina Jolie on it. We called it Fangelina Jolie, but the picture disappeared. So now it's the overeager student. So when there's motion that's in more than one place, it's going to include both. So if somebody were to come up from the audience and write something on the whiteboard over here, it's going to track them while they're writing on the board, and anybody else that's up here. When they go to sit down again, Aries goes back to just me. And there was somebody else in here that was going to show you what happens when you have two people, but he has been replaced by a fan with a hand cardboard cutout that's taped to it. Because all we really need is motion. It doesn't track faces. At this point, are there any questions? I'm not sure how much time I've got left. I can show you the web UI as well.
We got about 7 minutes, Paul, if you want.
Let's dip into the web UI
Sure.
really quick, just so people get a
Sure.
quick look at that.
Sure thing. Thank you, sir.
And I have to make sure PowerPoint does that. Okay, web UI active.
Yes, sir. I see it.
Okay. So you can see that the blue stuff on the right is the masking, and the white dots is me moving around. So that is actually the AI thinking and keeping track of where I am. But presets, we have 6 of them available. And this is just a starting point, although this will probably fit 90 to 95% of the installs that are out there. I have a tendency in demos like this one to leave it as the responsive, just because it makes for a better demo, because you can see the movement easier. It's quicker to react, and it follows me around just a lot faster, because I'm going to move around just to show that off. We find that in most conference rooms, you're probably going to want to do that as the default or even conservative, because it makes the far end a little seasick. But again, these are just starting points. Each one of these does have its own little pop-up behind it. So it tells you, really what it does. Makes it so you don't have to go hunting for a manual. And these are pretty standard. It's basically how long it remembers, what's the maximum EPTZ speed. Some of the more interesting ones here at the bottom is the tri-sync motion. What that'll do is, because this is an electronic pan tilt, you're actually seeing simulated pan tilt movement. I can turn that off and it's just going to go where it thinks it needs to go instantly. And we've actually had some people that prefer that. So it just basically clicks into place. Forced wait time is, so it only updates as much as you let it. So if you don't want it jumping around a lot, you can set that to 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 60 seconds. It's just really personal preference. It's nice to be able to give a customization option. And then default wide is, if there's no motion in the room, what does the camera do? It's either going to stay where it last saw motion, or if you enable that, it's going to snap out to the full wide view. And regardless of how it's set, as soon as it sees motion, it's going to go to wherever that motion is, but that's just where it leaves off. And you can see on the grayscale side here, and of course, and this is just live in a browser. Any browser will do this, or the video deployment tool. And you can see where we've blocked out the blue squares there, because that's where people are normally sitting in the room. So if Scott were to come up and sit down in some of the chairs here, it's going to track his motion when he goes across the room. But as soon as he sits down in the chair, it's going to ignore him. Yep, and you can see that the production window just is not moving because it doesn't care that he's there. They're only seeing the grayscale, they're not seeing the live. Otherwise, you would have seen the face. Some of the other things of note, pretty standard interface that you've seen before for the camera. Pan, tilt, zoom, even though it is electronic, there are presets. So, so when I click on whiteboard, it turns the auto framing off and it went to the whiteboard, although you're not seeing live video, but there it is. So it's over there and it's going to stay there until you turn on auto tracking or auto framing again, which is home. So once I click home, it goes back and it goes back to the auto framing, and as soon as it sees some motion, it comes out to me.
Works very well, Paul. It's pretty seamless. Works really well.
Yeah, we're very impressed by it still. And if you're familiar with the RoboTrack cameras, you can get about 85 to 90% of that functionality if you tune this properly. So people don't want, who don't want to wear the lanyard and just say absolutely not. This will take care of a whole lot of those situations.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both. Thank you both for your
Yeah.
time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate. Bob and Steve, it looks like we're we're about at the end of our tour, gentlemen. Is there anything else you wanted to add for our guests, or this was great?
We appreciate everyone showing up today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, Legrand. Thank you, Team Vadio. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, and be well, everybody.
Take care.
Nice. All right, so just a little housekeeping here, folks. We've got a great giveaway here to finish out the day and finish out our Booth Crawl 2021 InfoComm. From our friends at Harman, we have an AKG Lyra microphone. That'll be going to Chris Coots. DPA has donated a DPA 2028 handheld microphone, which will be going to Greg Dinkin. Clearcom has donated one of their really cool new headsets to CC28, and that'll be going to John Fiorello. And Legrand has donated a docking station, which will be going to David Horashak. Again, everybody, I really do appreciate you taking some time out of your day and joining us, and thank you for your support of TMP Pro. Have a great day, and my best to you and your families. Take care.